Well, welcome to Lunch and Learn, everybody. Got some people joining in. We'll get started here in just a minute. My name is Robert. Make sure I got my name on there. But thank you for joining. So, we'll give it just another moment, see if some more people come in. But if you're watching later, we'll get started here in maybe 2 minutes or so. And Brian, if you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. You're the only one in here right now. We'll take you first because we're kind of going first come, first serve. But if you're here to hang out and learn, that's fine as well too. We got one. Great. I'll read it right now. Is there a way to have a list filter for a report on the URL? Well, you know what? We'll go ahead and get started because you're here early and I don't want to waste any of your time. I'm going to let you talk so you can just give me a little bit more information on there and see if we can filter that out. So, um, hey, Brian, how's it going?
Hello, good. How are you?
Good. Doing great today. Can you give me some more insight on what you're looking for?
Yes. So right now we are creating parameters on a different page off of a form, and when a user is done creating the parameters for this report, they'll click submit, and it brings up this new page that has the report on it. And in the URL, we have like the different parameters in the URL. So we have like the date range, and we have the
Sure.
team and other things. But we also have a filter that's like a list of these client names that we're looking for and filtering by. I was
Okay.
wondering if there's a way to have that in the URL.
That is a good question. Let's do some building and see if we can figure out exactly what. The first thing my brain is going to here is some type of building it dynamically with some uh, flow and like a merge plain text, and you can pull variables off of it. But that seems like a little bit of an over construction here. Let me see if I can construct something here. Cool. So just to clarify, you have it is a it is you're getting that URL from what another report or from a form? Is it like parent and child reporting? What is the? Can you say it one more time?
The URL is just a page URL, but we have like a merge text thing
Okay.
in like the end form session open URL tool. So that's how we're sending our users to that page, if that makes sense.
It does a little bit here. Let me think here. We'll start with we'll create a page first, I guess. And again, if I'm walking in the wrong direction, apologies. You can just always feel free to give me some kind of guidance if I'm hearing your prompt wrong. But you have a page with a report on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we'll just make a random report for it. I'm on a training instance right now because I'm currently updating mine to version 9. So we're going to have a little bit of latency issues, but it'll give us time to kind of stop and think about some stuff while we're waiting for
Mm-hmm.
this to load. All right, so let's put a report on there. We'll make a brand new report with some filtering. You said it was user groups, date ranges. What else was it filtering by? Or not filtering by, but what were the options there?
Oh, yeah, so we had a filter of like date range and like a team that we have, which those I'm getting them to work. The thing that
Okay.
we can't get to work is we also have like by client name, and so each row of data has a client name, but we want to show like a list. So we'll
Mhm.
have like company A, B, and C in the list, and in the report we want to see be able to see company A, B, and C.
Okay. We'll keep building. See if we can kind of stumble into something here.
Mhm.
Just so I'm understanding. So basically, you have a form on a dashboard that will send like someone selects in the drop down list like A, B, C. If someone in the
Mhm.
drop down list selects A, it will filter out all data in the report that starts with either letter A
Hmm.
on the dashboard. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, but we
Gotcha.
have a multi-select, so the user can select multiple.
Oh, gotcha. So you should want, so if it's A, okay, I see. So if it's A, B, then it will capture both of them and then
Yes.
filter and then only show stuff that starts with A and B. I see.
Hmm.
Guess we'll add one more field here. Would be a good one to test that. Like a created by. So we have robots and all that. User, system admin. Okay. All right. So you said all of them are working except for the multi-select. Is that correct?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can just kind of parse it down to just figuring out how to get that bit to work here. I don't think that there's even an option for. All right, we'll give it one moment here. There we go. All right, so let's do the drop down. And we're populating it from would it be too many variables to do as a constant? Do you have that populated dynamically?
What do you mean by that?
So when you have your drop down, how does that data get
Hmm.
populated? Do you have them typed
We
in
have
as
through a
constant
flow,
through the flow?
a
Okay.
flow. Hmm.
So button here, we're at it. And again, so we're gonna, oh no, I did just do a drop down. You're correct. I did not do multi-select. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so let's see if we can get some data there. Let me think about what would we need. I hear Jared's getting some information on the side as well. So we got two brains on this one. And apologies, like I said, we're currently migrating all of our containers over to a new system, and I'm on a training container while we get that going over.
Hey Brian, could you put your email address in the chat? We're gonna work on this for like 5 more minutes, but we may have to just take it offline and build you an example. So if you could just put your email in the chat, that'd be great. Do you know what company you're associated with?
With Ryan.
Oh, with
Ryan.
Ryan. Okay, gotcha. Cool, cool.
Oh, sorry, I sent you my Gmail. Let me send you my
Yeah, that'd be
portfolio.
better. No worries.
Where should I go? You want to give me some guidance there, Jared, on where you think I should navigate to? We've got the report on the account structure. I was thinking we could do the multi-select on the created by field because we have multiple drop downs, but I'm struggling to.
We'll just take this offline, Robert.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
We
No
can just look
problem.
on it. Yeah. So you'll be getting an email by us today, Brian. We'll create a project for you so you have how we'd set
Okay,
that up, so you can just see how that works. So,
perfect. Thank you.
my initial impression of this is I'm not sure it's possible to shove a list to multi-filter in
Okay.
a dashboard that way, but we're gonna
Hmm.
try to see if we can, and if we can't, we'll just have a workaround that we'll send to you.
Okay,
So you'll have a project either or that you can mess around with.
sounds good. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Will it be helpful if I sent you the URL that I have now that has our filters?
Yes, that would be great. If you want to just put that in the chat as well.
Yeah. I hear people talking on the sidelines about it. I think they're trying to mentally work around it. Okay. So you're putting the URL in there. Do you have any
And
other? Yeah. There. Perfect. Thank you.
the yeah, this link technically doesn't work because
Right.
the last part of the filter is like the is our list. So I was just
Hmm.
testing that out to see if it would work. But everything besides that list part at the end, they all work.
Server. Oh, you already have it? Okay, thank you. Cool. Do you have anything else, Brian, that we can chat about? Anything else you're working on that we can kind of give
No,
you?
that's it.
That's it, man. All right.
Cool. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll build it out here across the next hour. It's gonna take some tinkering,
All good.
but we'll follow right back up with you. Um,
Cool.
Jeremy,
Well, thank you.
yeah, no problem, man. And feel free to, like I said, if you have any other thoughts or anything you want to talk about, because it is kind of a hollow lobby today. Sometimes it's packed and sometimes it's not. So, if Jeremy, if you got anything you want to chat about, I'll allow you to talk on that end too. Um, if anybody's got any questions, if not, I can kind of just do some poking around. Um, we got any questions anywhere from anybody? Q&A. Let's check on this. Oh, we got another new person in here. Um, Gabriel, if you've got a question, feel free to put it in the chat or raise your hand and I can allow you to talk, so I can give you some information. Feel free to, like I said, either put something in the chat or raise your hand and I can allow you to speak whenever you have any questions. And if you don't have any questions, you're sure to hang out. You can let me know that too, and I can give you some info on some random stuff. Like I said, up there you are. Perfect. Hey, how's it going?
Good. Sorry, I don't want to get ahead of anybody else if it's
No, you're
someone
all right.
else.
It's kind of an empty lobby today. I'm here to help you.
Oh, awesome. So I was trying a little POC with some functionality that I'm trying
Yeah.
to port over.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem I'm having is when running one of the standard rules,
Okay.
and I'm trying to capture some of the information that matches the criteria so that I can create a response with it. Uh, Kind of like the minimal example I was able to create was a rule that takes a list of strings and I match on each one of them individually and have a sub if statement that checks for a value, for example.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm
what
trying
is
to
your
use the override output functionality.
okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, what is your end goal? You want to take in data and then run rules for specific elements based on the input and then output values based on it, or what is like if you could
It's more, we have a kind of a complex object, a list that's got individual objects that also support lists. So we have to drill down a little bit on that. And as we match specific things, we want to make sure we report on the result. What were the things that triggered that rule, the
okay.
specific values? because that's something that our consumers would want to know for validating data for them. For example, what is the offenders essentially?
Yeah.
Um, and it seems like it's there. It's just I couldn't get it to work. It seems to work top level, but not on nested if statements. So I can
The first
yeah,
thing, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
if you create like a standard rule, I can show kind of like the setup I had there.
Hmm. You're doing a statement rule, probably.
Yep, save and rule.
Perfect. All right, just give it a moment to kind of populate. We're currently migrating our whole training thing over. So I'm on a training instance and we're kind of working on getting it so we have some latency on our end, but it'll just give us a little bit more time.
Sounds good.
All right. So what are we looking at here?
All right, so the setup input data, I put there just a list of strings.
All right. And then you just have a list of data here,
Um, yeah, I can just put like something like want
constants.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, so a few values that are invalid and the one I end up using. I actually just use just regular strings. I didn't put any constraints.
We'll just map it in as a hard constant in the flow. Okay.
Sounds
So
good.
we're taking this.
Yeah, so that
And then so what is the rule you're trying to?
so I use the contains any
Okay.
verb.
Sorry about this. We're
Yeah,
trying
no
to.
problem.
And have you tried, I mean, um, have you tried, I know you said you did this with a string match and all that kind of stuff. Have you tried any of the building with a rule set? Have you used rule sets at all?
I did not try a rule set for this specifically. No.
Okay. Because there's a couple advantages, you can kind of maybe merge a couple steps together with um, you said contains any,
Yep.
list contains any,
Yep.
right?
No, sorry, the bottom one.
Okay. No problem. We are not in I'm not in a rush. Well, I am in a little bit of a rush, but not really. I said contains any.
Yes.
All right.
And yeah, it's some element there. So yeah, done. And then in the inside there, the sub if statement there, nested if statement, I put like just a um simple condition. Yep. Where element is ABC or something like that. Yeah. So here's where I overrode. I was trying to override actually. So if you on the ABC, if
Mm-hmm.
you go back there, there's this checkbox for specify different output. And I wanted to say false, for example, for the default. It might not show up until you save the role or something like that. The default output.
See if we can get in these trains. There we go. See if we can get something to load here.
I think now it should show there the default output when you check the box.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
There you go. So I was trying to say, for example, in this case, it's false, right? It's overriding it to be false. I think the default is true.
True. Yeah.
So if you do done here, it it that's basically what I've done, and I couldn't get it to work. I can get it to work above, like if you do it on the contains any element,
Yeah.
it will show you right next to it returns whatever what you select. But from this point inside, you can't. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the problem is for the more complex example I got going on, um, I'm matching something that I need access to for creating my result, for example. So the element's right there. When you're creating a response, you can use the builder and select from flow, and it will you have the option to select that element you're currently on um, there, for example, and you wouldn't be able to select that from the result. From the result, you can only select inputs.
Okay.
So yeah, the contains any kind of narrows down the scope I'm looking for the information.
Okay.
And yeah, and that override would allow me to capture that information.
So I'm still, and it's definitely on my end, so apologies on that, but I'm still struggling to figure out what the use, and I keep kind of working my way towards thinking it might be better to run a rule set if you're going to be breaking down by elements. Depends on how many variables you're assessing, but with a rule set, you could parse the individual value and then send it down individual rules and change your output values that way. Um, Jared, do you know where I'm trying to figure out what the actual use case is here. Like I have it set
But
up, but I'm
might be able to give you a screenshot of an example. Um, I don't know if I
So
can.
what's the goal you're trying to do? You just want a different outcome or like a different data?
So I got a nested complex data type that
Mm-hmm.
I have to drill down to get to some objects.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when I do match those objects, I need them to create an output. I
Okay.
need information about those individual objects.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the nested version of the output override doesn't actually override the output.
But like, so but I want to understand what's the what out why oh so what's the output? Why do you need to override the output? What's the output you want? The reason I'm asking is there may be another way we can do this. I just
Yeah,
don't know what the output you're looking for is.
guess best way would be for me to show, but I'm not sure if there's a way for them to do
yeah,
that.
you can't unfortunately because we post all this stuff on YouTube. We don't want you to like accidentally compromise some of your internal
Yeah,
data.
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, let's say I got, a state object that's got locations in it. Each location has some sort of vehicle associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having to go, that's the input. I'm having to go all the way to the vehicles to be
Mm-hmm.
able to match some conditions on them. And when I do match some conditions, I want the output to contain some of the information of that matched vehicle, for example.
Okay.
So it's further down the line. If I try to create an output directly on the result, it's going to give me the inputs. And at that point, there's many vehicles that don't apply to what I'm trying to create a result for, right? I want the
Mm-hmm.
specific vehicle that got matched against all those conditions.
And
And that's when
and so what's the output data is
the output data could be like the vehicle make, the vehicle type, uh, a bunch of different things about the vehicle that got matched, for example.
okay, so like you want to like have your own like merge. You want like hey like merge plain the text or like change that a little bit and output that piece of information or let's say this is just my generic output,
Yeah, so say that's your generic output. So in
rule
this
output stuff.
toy case here, you'd be, output the specific value that matched,
Yeah, so
right?
the first, yes, but so let's say it's a specify rule output. So let's say for the true, I'm going to say this is true. And then for the rule output here, I can just have no data here, right? And that'll fix. So if I configure this And then let's say I do this, specify different output, and I'll say this is ABC, right?
Well, actually, I think the situation I'm on is that instead of constant, I'm using flow. So if you selected there from flow,
Right. But so the problem is, so the problem like you just can't find it here.
it's right there. So you can do it from here,
Mm-hmm.
but because it knows what that element is, but you can't do it from the result because the result is only going to show the stuff above there, above the element.
Correct. It's not going to show the output. You can't select from flow
Yeah,
on the output.
yeah,
That's how it functions.
yep.
That won't work
So that
if
yeah,
you're
that's why I'm using this. I'm trying to override because I'm trying to capture this specific match.
trying to capture the specific match.
In this case, it's just a string, so it really doesn't help very much because we know it's an ABC, right? But if I had some sort
I can
of
make it a
other,
composite. I mean, that's not a problem. So like if you want list variables, so we can go list account. We'll say this is accounts is list. So that's a composite type.
yeah,
And let's say we're gonna change this. And let's say we're going to list of accounts next. We're gonna go contains any, right? Element, sure.
yep,
And then we can go to element, add condition, element. And let's say the account email address, email contains an @ sign. So that should hit everything. Contains @ sign,
yep.
right? It contains @ sign.
There you
Then I
go.
can go
That's perfect.
here and then I can specify a different outcome over here.
You want to match the specific email, for example, or something like that.
You want to output like the whole email or something?
Yeah, sure. And
So
for
then we can,
example, but yeah, that's similar.
yeah. So then we can do there. Let's edit. I want to change this. Change. Haha. So then I can change the output type to account here. And then now, if I uncheck this and over this, now I should be able to edit this and default output data. Oh, that's a string. I gotta remove that one. So now if I edit this, now I can output an account. So let's say all users, sure. And so now it's gonna output that entire account for on the true path for this. And then if I want to specify something different for here, I just go to, let's say, I'm uncheck this, and then I can pick the account here. And if I want to output the element, you can select the element there.
Yep.
And then it should output that element. Is that what you have?
That's what I have.
Okay.
And it
So then
works from the
let's,
top, but it doesn't work from the bottom. Like it works for that first statement, it just doesn't work for the nested one.
it works for the top, not the bottom.
Yeah, if you go back to the rule, that first statement where you have, if I had an override there, it works for me just fine. It just doesn't work when it's that sub if statement.
Yeah, in that part. And it counts results. Let me just debug. I'm curious what happens.
Yep.
I'll change the @ sign. Okay, so now, okay, so you want to reference this part to be select from flow of the element?
Sure. Yeah. It would be the element, whatever piece of data I need from that element that got matched, right? It could be the element itself. It could be something under that element.
Oh, I see. And that's not gonna, yeah, I don't think there's a way, unless you do. I mean, this is gonna be a little clunky. There's probably a better way to do it. If I just have, um, let's say, I'm gonna say this is like temp. I'm gonna call this temp and make this account.
Like so maybe that one finds one that has a net sign and it
So then I
just
can say the specified account, specified different. So it's gonna be the element. And then so that's gonna check it. Nope, that's not gonna work because there's no change value on this because it's the input side of this. So if all you want to do is just find if a process contains that and then just output that account, here's what I would advise.
like
Um,
is it able to output just a string? For example, the email that got matched.
just even well, no. So the only thing that's going to output here, I'd have to research what the specified different outcome does. But as you saw here, it doesn't really. Let's see, don't save. If I debug this and I passed in the entire list here, the only thing that got outputted is the
Is
all
the stuff you
users.
hard coded, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're that I select from float
That's the
on the
experience I'm
true
having
part.
too. It's whatever I specify on the bottom there, the result is what it comes back.
Well, that's because I set it as a constant, right? I set this as a constant. If I did
Yes.
select from flow and then I grabbed, let's say the
Then you
first of
can't
this,
choose it, right? You
yeah,
have to find the specific one
then I can,
you're
yeah,
looking
then
for.
I can get it. Yeah. So, but that,
But it works
yeah,
if I do it from like the first if statement, right? So the very top there where they have contains element, if you do an override there, it actually shows in the UI that that is going to return something,
which part
where it
here?
doesn't say that. Yeah, that one. So if you do the same thing you did there,
Mm,
uh, you can't choose the element, but if you just say leave it the way it is, for example, and just say done,
sure.
it shows there. You got that feedback where there it says returns, no designer, add decision. It doesn't
Mm,
say that for the nested if statement.
sure.
Um, so I took that as it doesn't take effect or something like that. Like it's not actually doing it
Hmm.
because it does work, but yeah, you should be able to see it does override when you have it at that level. Yeah, it show their designer.
Hmm. Yeah. I
Yeah,
gotcha.
right.
Sounds like
Very good.
I would use a truth table. That's like that's what you would use for your circumstance. So if I could go
Okay.
to rules, because I think because I think that's what the use case for your use case would be. So let's show you this. So this is example truth table,
Yep.
right? And then what I can do is I can specify different outputs. I could even specify multiple outputs, output two, right?
Yeah.
Over here. And let's say we'll make this composite type just because that's the topic of our conversation, right? Specify it here, and then I could specify, I'll specify accounts here as well. And then let's say I got a list of accounts or whatever. Account list. Right. And then I can go through it and go through that account and pick whatever account list, right? And I can pick, and utilize that. And then whatever it goes through and it finds, then it'll output that specific data. I can have it output that account that I picked or that account that it's looking through and navigate through it that way.
Okay. Yeah.
That would be one thing I would
Okay.
try. The other thing that I would say you would have to do too is that this rule criteria, you probably would have to combine flows and rules. And so what I mean by that is, let's say you want to find out, let's go to this flow. I'm going to delete this. You can utilize a for each step and then grab a fetch entities and then grab your accounts, right? And then what you can do is on that, then you can run a rule for that account. So it's taking the looping element, because the problem is the looping element inside the rule is
Yeah.
not really grasping what we're looking for. But if you take the looping element out and just put it here, where you then say, okay, we're going to loop through the different accounts, now you can think on the single item level, right?
Yep.
And so now you can just say, was it string equals or, account, list contains. I think we even have a list contains thing. If there's a list of properties you want to evaluate for that specific composite type, and then you can do what you want, for those things. I want to output that email. I want to do whatever, but you can at least constrain the looping logic out here, and that would get you to where you would, that would get you to where you need to be for it.
Okay. No, yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, guys. We are at 12:36 here. Yeah. Do we have any more questions in the chat or anything? And I don't know for sure if you saw Gabriel, but William did put in the chat a support article for the truth table. Maybe give you some insight on that line as well.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Do we have any more questions in the chat? Anybody have any more things they would like some insight on? Kind of give it a moment. Start winding down. I guess I will show you one thing just because we do have a second. Just an important thing about truth tables or just a thing to recognize that might help you Um, I'll kind of give you a little bit of a insight here. If I can get this to load, create a rule. Um, so this truth table, it's going to kind of work um, similar to kind of linking a bunch of and ors, and I'll show you just like how you can kind of ignore some prompts if you want to make it a little more precise. If I can get my thing to load here. But basically every column is going to be uh, an and kind of prompt. All the vertical columns and all the horizontal rows will be, basically an or iteration. And you can ignore them to kind of parse down so you can only match certain fields. And I'll kind of see if I can get this to work right now. Yeah, there we go. And I think it does, it will say a lot of that in here. Basically all of these while we're kind of waiting for this thing to load. All of these fields here are going to be like and, so age greater than or equal to, and insured is true, and cost is less than. You can specify your default output data like Jared was showing. You can add um, additional outputs. But if you wanted to, or the rows are also going to kind of give you your or options, or 30 insured is true, 1,000, or 55 true, 3,500. But one thing that I think is important for people to recognize is when I go and add these rows, say hypothetically you only want to match particular fields. I only want to do if their age is greater than or equal to, I want this to happen, but insured is true or insured is false only, I want this to happen. Just a helpful tip is that you can go through and actually ignore these conditions and kind of build out this grid. Uh, we'll unignore that so we can make this a little prettier. And then on this one we could go. So for this particular, just kind of showing off the truth table, if it goes through and this condition is true and this is true and this is true, it'll give you this outcome. But for this path, if it's just this one field is true, it'll give you this. So it allows you to kind of parse down and take a really complex series of rules and series of and statements and allow you to kind of parse it down into just the fields you want by ignoring conditions on certain fields. So I think that's a helpful truth table insight if you don't spend a lot of time in there. And you'll kind of get that when you're debugging, you can kind of look through and see what your output data is going to be. But if we don't have any questions, we're at 40 minutes, so I'm going to kind of wind them down. I'll give you a moment to kind of, and if anybody has anything else for me. If not, we'll be back tomorrow with Jeremy, one of the smartest people I know, and we can give you some help then. Nope, we don't need the news to pop up. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and close out for today. Thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow.